Ottawa, where Defense Minister Nina Anand is updating the investigation into the crash of the RCAF Chinook helicopter.
Armed forces that were found deceased yesterday.
I can confirm that the 2 missing Canadian Armed Forces members were found deceased by searchers yesterday. Out of respect for the families, we will not be releasing their names. This incident is a painful reminder that members of the Canadian Armed Forces undertake great risk to defend Canada, whether in combat or in training, and we owe them our deepest gratitude. The 2 other members in the helicopter were taken to Pembroke Hospital and were later released to the care of Canadian Armed Forces personnel in accordance with post-accident protocols. Both were treated for minor physical injuries, and they are being offered support at this time. Since the incident occurred, we have been working with military and civilian personnel involved in rescue and recovery efforts, which have involved the following: 110 Canadian Armed Forces members on shore and on water, including divers from 2 Combat Engineer Regiment and RCAF search and rescue technicians, an OPP Marine Unit, Petawawa and Pembroke Fire Departments, search and rescue aircraft from the RCAF's 424 Squadron, including a Griffin search and rescue helicopter and Hercules aircraft. We have also deployed physical barriers around parts of the crash scene to contain the fuel and prevent it from spreading. Royal Canadian Air Force Directorate of Flight Safety Investigators are beginning the work of a flight safety investigation. Les enquêteurs de la direction
The investigators from the flight safety from the Royal Canadian Air Force are starting an investigation.
We will continue to update Canadians as soon as it is appropriate to do so. Our thoughts remain with the crew of the helicopter, their loved ones, and all members of the 450 Squadron and Garrison Petawawa. We are here for you. We are here to support you in any way we can, especially during this difficult time. Nous sommes là.
We are here for you, and we will continue to do everything possible to support you in this difficult period. To conclude, I would like to thank all those who've intervened on site of the incident and who participated in the research and recovery efforts.
I would like to extend my sincerest thanks to all those who responded to the incident and all those involved in the search and recovery efforts. I will now turn to General Wayne Eyre to offer further remarks.
Thank you, Minister. First and foremost, on behalf of everyone in the Canadian Armed Forces, I want to address the broader tactical helicopter community and the friends, families, and colleagues of the crew of the Chinook that crashed yesterday. Vous êtes dans nos pensées.
You are in our thoughts as well as our hearts. We will make all efforts to support you as you go through this terrible ordeal. I also want to communicate my thanks, my personal thanks, to the research and recovery teams, both military and civilian, to police officers and firemen who've mobilized yesterday to help us to find our colleagues who were missing so that we could bring them back home.
You are in our thoughts and in our hearts at this terrible time, and we will do everything to support you through it. I'd also like to offer my personal thanks to the military and civilian search and rescue, police, and firefighting personnel who have stepped up yesterday to help us find our missing teammates and bring them home. There is no higher calling than the service and defense of others. And it is this calling that each member of our armed forces hear when they don the uniform. We are reminded today that this can be dangerous work, whether it's carried out in support of military operations or while training for those operations. Our people know the risks, and they take them willingly. Parce qu'ils comprennent l'importance de leur travail.
Because they understand the importance of their work, because they love their country.
Because they understand the importance of their work, because they love their country, and because they believe in the ideal of service before self. At times like this, our military community pulls together, united in our hopes for a quick and full recovery of those who were released from hospital late yesterday, and in the grief we share regarding the loss of two of our military family. 450 Tactical Helicopter Squadron, based at CFB Petawawa, flies the CH-147 F-model Chinook, a heavy-lift helicopter that plays a vital role in Canadian Armed Forces missions. Qu'il s'agisse de transport d'équipement lourd ou de personnel.
Whether heavy equipment or personnel or medical support or evacuation operations, without forgetting the search and recovery missions. They were used in expeditionary deployments as well as here in the country in operations in answer to natural disasters or other crisis situations like the COVID-19 pandemic.
Transporting heavy equipment to personnel, to medical support, evacuation operations, and support for search and rescue work. They have served in expeditionary operations and here at home in operations in response to natural disasters or other crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic. And they are especially proud of the critical support they provide to almost all aspects of Canadian Armed Forces operations. This is why this accident is so difficult for us to process. We have a long road ahead of us, and the Canadian Armed Forces will continue to support our members and their families throughout this difficult time. Thank you. Merci.
Was it linked to technical failures or human error? Thank you for the question. All circumstances of this incident are under investigation right now, and this investigation will discover the facts and circumstances, and when we do have other information, we will share it with you.
Ground the Chinook fleet? Are you planning to ground the fleet?
There is no formal pause in the operation of the fleet at this time. However, the fleet will take a pause out of respect for this tragic incident and all of the members of 450 Squadron. But as I said, it is not a formal operational pause.
What kind of exercise were they doing the night of the crash?
It was a night training exercise, and the crash occurred just after midnight during that training exercise with 4 members on board the helicopter.
So it is not a formal pause, it is not an operational pause at this time, but the fleet and all the people will have a pause now to respect the families of the victims.
But I'm just wondering if you could explain what we know at all about what caused this crash and what the conditions were at the time.
The crash occurred just after midnight on June 20th during a nighttime training exercise with 4 members on board the helicopter. The exercise was a nighttime training exercise, and the crash occurred just after midnight during that exercise. 2 members were rescued, and 2 members were found, unfortunately, deceased.
There's a flight investigation happening. How long do you anticipate that to
last, and when can we get some answers on the cause of this crash?
The investigation has commenced. Indeed, it has been in process, and it will go through all of the facts and all of the information surrounding the circumstances relating to the incident. And once that has occurred, it will conclude. But at this time, we don't have a specific date for its conclusion. Obviously, we want the investigation to be careful. We want the investigation to be fulsome and comprehensive, and therefore I am encouraging all involved to be as thorough as possible so that we can provide as much information as possible to the families, to the loved ones, to 450 Squadron, and indeed to Canadians.
I understand you have not identified the cause. Are there possible causes that have been put aside, for example, criminal involvement? At this moment, we cannot confirm the causes, the details of this incident. It's important to be prudent at this time because we must have the effect, the information, and then we can have conclusions. But we need to wait for this investigation and the process. This is important now.
On the subject of the submersible, how much is that search and rescue operation costing, and where's it at?
We are continuing to support the United States that is leading the search and recovery effort. We recently deployed HMCS Glace Bay in support of those efforts. But right now, all of the direction and information gathering to reach conclusions and next steps is being led by the United States.
Any idea how much it costs so far?
At this point, we are trying to do whatever we can to save lives, and that is our most important priority.
Do you know how it happened yesterday that the Prime Minister appeared to confirm the deaths of these two service members before the military did?
The situation was evolving very rapidly. Information was coming in very quickly. The bottom line is that I am here today to provide information relating to the crash, and I will say that our hearts break for the members of 450 Squadron and the families who have lost their loved ones.
General Weiner, I just have a question. How did you feel about the Prime Minister announcing these deaths before the military did? Is that usual? Is that common?
So as the minister said, information was coming in very rapidly. And, I hope that we take this opportunity to think about the families and share our thoughts and our prayers with them and not focus on creating any more controversy because we're all focused on doing the right thing. The right thing for the families, the right thing to determine the cause for this investigation, and so please respect that.
We don't have any more information.
Is there a black box, and have you found it?
So l'enquête continue.
The investigation is ongoing. I don't know the details, the technical details for the helicopters, but we have the Air Force, Major General Samuel Ménard, and I will let him speak. Thank you for the question. Yes, the device has an onboard recorder. I have no other information to communicate at this time, so the investigation is ongoing and we will have more details, and that will communicate it at the time, but thank you for the question. Do you have it in your possession? I do not have that information. The investigation is ongoing. The process has just started, but thank you for the question.
what you just said?
Yes. So I can confirm that the helicopter has a recording device on board, what was referred to as a black box. But right now I have no information on whether it's recovered or not. And in due time, in a fulsome, once the thorough investigation is ongoing, we'll have more information to communicate at the time. Thank you for the questions.
More specific about what kind of a training exercise it was? Were there multiple aircraft? Were there personnel on the ground? What kind of training exercise was it?
So right now we're gathering all the information, part of the formal investigation, flight safety investigation. What I can confirm is just it was a normal, regular night training event that was taking place with the objective to train the first officer pilots, the two pilot members and two crew members, air crew in the back. So that's all the information that we have at this time. And
Crash happened in Canada
are the
before?
ones who are deceased?
Excuse me?
Can you confirm that the two pilots are the ones who are deceased?
So as mentioned by the Minister of National Defense, by respect for the family, we're not going to discuss the status of the deceased, whether they were pilots or air crew members. We refer to them as members of the crew. Thank you for the questions.
At this point, we have no other information about the potential cause, whether it was natural or if something went wrong. We have no more information at this point about what actually happened.
So, as explained by the Minister, I would just like to say that right now we are starting a fulsome flight safety investigation, and would rather not speculate until we have the facts that are confirmed via a thorough, very scientific type of investigation. Please.
Has a crash happened in Canada before?
We've had one incident of the Chinook in the past, but I want to reiterate that right now it's a very, very good fleet that we are very happy with a great service record for this aircraft. So that's all I'm going to say at this point.
À propos du submersible, j'aimerais vous entendre en français.
To hear you in French. For the submarine, can you tell us what are the current efforts on Canada's part? We are continuing to support the United States with these efforts, and first, we are there for them and for the people inside the object, but it's important to continue to be there for these efforts, the total efforts. Are resources deployed? Can you give us an idea of the Canadian resources that are deployed in these efforts and how much that Yes, one moment, please. First, we have an Aurora plane from the Royal Canadian Air Force from Greenwood to supply a continuous support on site. We also have the Aurora supplies surface searching capabilities as well as acoustic detection under the surface. The Royal, there's the Glace Bay ship from the Royal Canadian Marines. They offer specialized medical support. There's the Coast Guard ships are also able to provide aid, and the Coordination Center from Boston is responsible for the coordination of the research. And we'd invite you to speak to them for any other information. But those are the Canadian capacities there.